What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today I have for you guys my winner and score predictions for every single bowl game in college football this bowl season. And I'm very excited for the bowl games this year. A ton of great matchups. I just want to say real quick before we get into it, subscribe if you guys are new because we do a ton of college football content on the channel, so check it out. Consider subscribing. I'd appreciate it a lot. Also, drop me a like on this video if you guys enjoyed, and comment down below because I love talking to you guys about college football down in the comment section below. I respond to almost every comment, so definitely comment down below. And yeah, let's get right into my picks. Starting off, I want to go ahead and start off with the New Year's Six Bowls and the playoffs because I know you guys want to see my opinions on the big bowl games first. So let's get right into those big games. Starting off here, we got the Fiesta Bowl, Notre Dame versus Oklahoma State. And this is a very interesting matchup to me, and it's going to be a very good game. I think it's going to be a defensive game. As you can see, I predicted the score to be 24-19 favoring Notre Dame. And I think Notre Dame is favored +2 in this game, as I have the line there, or they're favored -2. But yeah, I think a huge X factor in this game is Kyle Hamilton going to opt out for the draft? Because as of the recording of this video, the only person I know of that has opted out is Kayvon Thibodeau at Oregon. So if Kyle Hamilton plays, that is a huge difference maker because he is such a playmaker at the safety position, and Spencer Sanders on Oklahoma State's side is very turnover prone at quarterback. As we've seen, he's thrown 4 interceptions against Baylor in the Big 12 championship. So I think that is a huge X factor. I think Kyle Hamilton can definitely make some plays against Spencer Sanders on defense and cause some turnovers, create some short field opportunities for Notre Dame, and that could be huge because I also like Kyron Williams out of the backfield for Notre Dame. He is a great receiving back. Jack Cohn shown he can get the job done, and yeah, this will be a huge test for Notre Dame though because this is the best opponent they've faced other than Cincinnati, and we've seen how that game went. So yeah, you could argue, Notre Dame hasn't seen much competition, but, they've played Stanford, Navy, Georgia Tech, blew them all out, completely. They shut out Georgia Tech. So yeah, they've been playing some bad opponents recently, but they've been blowing them out. So yeah, I like Notre Dame to win 24-19. I think Oklahoma State's turnovers, especially from Spencer Sanders, I think Notre Dame's going to be able to create them. I think it hurts them in this game. One thing I will say is Jaylen Warren should be playing at running back for Oklahoma State. He did not play in the Big 12 championship, so if he's healthy and playing, which he should be, that could help Oklahoma State a lot, and I could definitely see a lot of scenarios where Oklahoma State wins. This one's very 50-50 for me. I decided to go with Notre Dame 24-19. All right, moving on to our next game. We got the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and this is kind of the opposite of the last game. Last game, I kind of thought it was going to be more of a defensive game because I think Oklahoma State has a really good defense, probably top 5 in the country, and Notre Dame has a good defense as well. This game, I think it's going to be a straight shootout. Not much defense being played, maybe a couple turnovers here, but I think it's going to be very fast paced and a very fun game to watch and a shootout. And this matchup, it kind of favors Pitt because, they have Kenny Pickett. He was just named the Heisman finalist, and he's a beast, man. We know this, and Michigan State, we saw that matchup against Ohio State where they have a high-powered offense through the air, that Michigan State's secondary and the defense is not all that great. So it could be a weakness that Pitt is able to exploit very well, and that's why I have Pitt ultimately coming on top by 6. Pitt is favored 4.5, being the reason probably because of the matchup, like I explained, and I have them winning by 6, 55-49. I will say on Michigan State's side, as you can see, I do think they are going to be able to put up a lot of points because I think Kenneth Walker III has a big game because Pitt's defense is pretty good, but they are still vulnerable to giving up big plays. I think Kenneth Walker has a big day, but I do think that Kenny Pickett has maybe a bigger day through the air and really capitalizes on that weak Michigan State secondary. So ultimately, I have Pitt winning 55-49. I do want to say real quick, I do have the lines for only the New Year's Six bowls. I will have a future video coming out of my top 10 bets out of all the bowl games this bowl season. So that video is coming soon. Next up, we got the All-State Sugar Bowl. We got Baylor versus Ole Miss, and this should be a really fun game. I think these teams are very evenly matched, and it's interesting because I've seen Ole Miss at the beginning of the season. I thought that they were a really high-powered offense, and they have been all year, but I almost feel like teams have started to figure them out just a little bit, and it's really caused Matt Corral to use his legs a lot, which he's not afraid to do. And I don't think Matt Corral will opt out for the draft. He doesn't seem like someone who would. I feel like he's going to want to play in this big game. On the other side, you have Baylor, who's probably going to have Gary Bohannon playing. And is he going to be 100%? I think he probably should be. But, he's probably going to play this game. How healthy is he going to be? Is he going to be playing at 70%, 80%, 100%? Because it can make a difference in this game. Baylor also has Abram Smith, who's a beast at running back. He used to play linebacker, just trucks through people. I think he's averaging like 6 yards a carry. It's crazy. Every time he touches the ball, it's like close to a first down, man. That man is a beast. But, Ole Miss, I have them coming out on top by a touchdown here, 38-31. And Baylor has a very good defense and an underrated defense, in my opinion. But I do think Ole Miss, their defense has been better this year. And they've been playing against these SEC opponents and have been able to slow some teams down, like Mississippi State, who has a good offense. They've been able to slow them down. So I think that they'll be able to slow Baylor down enough to where they'll come out on top by 7 here in this one. And also the line does favor Ole Miss -2. Okay, moving on. We got the Rose Bowl, and this might be a little bit of a bold pick. I think a lot of people are going to pick Ohio State in this one, but I went with Utah in kind of a sleeper pick because the line does favor Ohio State -6.5, but I have Utah coming out on top 34-30. And like I said before, I don't know if Devin Lloyd is going to be playing at linebacker for Utah because the only person I know of that's opted out of their bowl game is Kayvon Thibodeau. So if Devin Lloyd isn't playing, that could be a huge missing piece there for Utah in this game. I do think they do have the type of team to beat Ohio State. I think Utah's team is kind of built similarly to a Michigan as to where they play very tough football, they play very hard football, and they have been on a crazy hot streak recently. They beat Oregon 2 times in a row by more than 20 points and won the Pac-12 championship when Ohio State just played a team a little bit similar to Utah in Michigan and lost. So I'm picking Utah to win this game in a close one, a very, very close game. I think Utah is going to be able to get the run game going with Cam Rising and also their running back who runs very, very hard. And I think their defense is going to be able to get some stops there. The real question is, can Utah's secondary, well, it's really going to be, can Utah's pass rush get to CJ Stroud before he can throw the ball downfield? Because like in the Michigan game, how they executed was Aiden Hutchinson was getting to CJ Stroud. I think he had 3 or 4 sacks in this game, and really that entire Michigan D-line was getting there. So if Utah can get to CJ Stroud and get some sacks in this game, get some pressure on him, I think Utah can come out on top in this one. But what Ohio State needs to do, they need to get their offensive line together here. They need to protect hard, maybe get the run game going so they know, they have to watch for the run game. They can't just straight up pass rush. So get Travion Henderson going, open up some play action opportunities downfield. I think that is huge for Ohio State. I think if they do that, Ohio State wins. So very, very close one for me. I think it's more likely Ohio State wins, but I'm kind of going with a little bit of a bold pick here and picking Utah 34-30 in the Rose Bowl. Okay, moving on, we got our first playoff matchup. We got Alabama versus Cincinnati, and the Crimson Tide are favored by 13.5 points. And I have them ultimately winning 34-23. So by 11 points, so I have Cincinnati covering that spread. I do think Cincinnati is going to be competitive in this game. I really hope it is competitive because I don't want, even if Alabama blows out Cincinnati, I don't want it to ruin the chance for any group of 5 team to get into the playoff in the future, because I do think, we've seen teams like Notre Dame, Oklahoma make it in at the 4 seed and get blown out. Like, it's nothing new, but in my opinion, I do think Cincinnati is going to be able to keep it competitive and within a touchdown throughout this game, and I think Alabama probably pulls away there right at the end. I think the key for Cincinnati, they have to go all gas, and they have to try to stop this Alabama offense early and can't let them get going in the first half. If they can go into halftime and keep it kind of a slower paced game without letting Alabama and Jamison Williams and Mechie get open downfield, which I actually think I heard that John Mechie is not going to be playing in this game. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But yeah, I think that Cincinnati, they have Ahmad Gardner and they have Kobe Bryant at the cornerback positions, maybe the best cornerback duo in the country. Can they stop this Alabama offense and these wide receivers that are so great, like Jamison Williams? If they can slow down Jamison Williams, then this could be a very good game. They also have to worry about the run game, though, because Brian Robinson Jr. is an absolute beast as well. Bryce Young, he's a great quarterback. He's going to make good decisions. So I do ultimately have Alabama winning 34-23. All right, moving on to our other playoff game. We got Michigan versus Georgia. And I was surprised how much Georgia was actually favored in this game. They're favored by 7.5. But yeah, I think Michigan has a real shot in this one. But we've seen Michigan be able to take shots downfield because, as we just seen, it was kind of skeptical all year. It was a question. If you can take shots downfield, can you beat Georgia? And I think Alabama kind of showed us that you can. It also takes a very good offensive line because in the SEC championship, Bryce Young was dropping back and he had a ton of time. So if Michigan State can give a lot of protection to their quarterback, I think it's going to be huge. What we have not seen is, which worries me for Michigan, is the run game be successful against Georgia's defense. So that's what Michigan likes to do. They like to run the ball with Corum and Hassan Haskins. And I don't know if they can get that going against this Georgia defense, which worries me a little bit. But they're going to have to try to get some protection for their quarterback, and their quarterback's going to have to make some big-time plays down the field. And we've seen that they can hit those downfield, like, long touchdown plays, and I think they probably do hit a couple, and then they need to try to open up the run, even though nobody's opened or gotten the run going against this Georgia defense. I think they're going to have to do it if they want to win. I think they can win. I think they're going to have to force some turnovers, but it's very hard because this Georgia offense, which is why I'm going to end up ultimately taking Georgia to win 24-23 in a nail-biter. Very, very good game. I think it's going to be a very close one. Is because Georgia's offense, even though they have Stetson Bennett at quarterback, who may not be the best quarterback, but if he can manage the game, hand the ball off to Cook and all those great running backs, pass the ball, the play action to those great tight ends, the great fresh Brock Bowers, and those wide receivers. George Pickens has been back. Maybe he can get going a little bit more with some time off before this game. So, yeah, I think Georgia, their team is just too good. I think the talent just kind of overpowers Michigan a little bit, and I just don't like this matchup for Michigan because, they're huge. They have one of the best run games in the country, but they're going up against one of the best run defenses we've seen in recent memory. So I think it's a bad matchup for Michigan, which is why I have them losing 23-24, but I could see this one going either way. But based on matchup purposes, I do have Georgia winning this one by 1. So that's going to do it for our New Year's 6 bowls. Let's get into some other bowls here. First up, we got the Citrus Bowl. I got Kentucky winning over Iowa 17-16. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game, as you guys can see. We all know Iowa's offense just isn't that great. And I do think Iowa's defense probably forces some turnovers, which helps them get some points on the board as well. But ultimately, I do think Kentucky will pull it out. I think they're going to have to get some big plays down the field. They're going to have to get their run game going because that Iowa secondary is very good. But what Kentucky kind of does sometimes is, they'll bring Wan'Dale Robinson on a wide receiver screen. I think that can be very effective against this Iowa defense because their secondary is good. So if they can kind of get the ball to their wide receivers and playmakers on some screen passes instead of down the field, I think that's really going to help their offense, and it's really going to help them edge this one out by 1 and win the Citrus Bowl. Next up, we got the Outback Bowl. We got Arkansas versus Penn State. I think this is going to be a very, very fun game. It's kind of like an offense versus a defense here. Arkansas has a very good offense. Penn State has a very good defense. And I was struggling with the score prediction for this one because is Penn State going to be able to stop them enough to make it a low-scoring game? I think it will be around in the 30s like this. I was 50-50 on this one. This is another one where I'm really not sure who is going to win, but I did ultimately pick Arkansas. I do not know if Arkansas's really good wide receiver is going to opt out for the draft or not at this point. But if he's playing, that's going to be a huge weapon for them. And KJ Jefferson, I think he's going to have to use his legs in this one. But yeah, I like this matchup a lot for Arkansas. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Texas A&M game where they won earlier in the year. And I got Arkansas squeaking this one out in a close one, 34-31. Next up, we got the Gator Bowl. We got Wake Forest versus Texas A&M. And another one, 2 in a row now, where it's offense versus defense. Wake Forest, all year they've had one of the better offenses in the country, and Texas A&M all year has had one of the better defenses in the country. So I do think this is going to be a higher scoring game, though. Wake Forest, I do think they're going to be able to put some points up on the board. Sam Hartman threw a lot of interceptions in that ACC championship game, though, and Texas A&M's defense is better than Pitt's defense. So we'll see how he bounces back from that. I think he's still going to be able to have a good day. I do think Texas A&M is also going to be able to put up some points, though, because Isaiah Spiller is a good running back, and they can get some plays going against a Wake Forest defense that I think is not very good. So Wake Forest, depending on how their offense plays, if they come out here playing like they did most of the year, I think they're going to win this one by just edging this one out 42-38. That's what I have it at. Another one that I could see really going either way, but I decided to go with the Demon Deacons in this one. Next up, we got the Texas Bowl. We got Kansas State and LSU. And I ended up picking Kansas State 30-28. And a lot of these, they're very close, very hard to pick. I do think that Kansas State will win. I know Skylar Thompson got injured so many times. His whole career, he's been in and out. I really would like to see if Skylar Thompson is playing this game, which, based on my score prediction, I'm predicting that he is going to play this game. I would like to see him end his career with a nice bowl win for Kansas State because he is a very good quarterback. He just had a lot of injury problems throughout his career. This is the first LSU game Brian Kelly is going to be coaching LSU, so it's going to be interesting. I could see LSU winning because of that case. And Max Johnson, he's a pretty good quarterback himself. I do think they're going to be able to put up points. But I have Kansas State winning 30-28. If Skylar Thompson is not playing for the Wildcats, though, I think LSU wins this one for sure, especially under Brian Kelly. So give me the Wildcats, assuming Skylar Thompson plays and goes out in fashion with a nice bowl win for his program. All right, next slate of bowl games, we got the Arizona Bowl. Boise State versus Central Michigan. And I'm pretty sure Boise State is actually favored by like 10 points in this one, which maybe a little bit of a sneak peek here for my 10 best bets video coming out here soon. I like Central Michigan to win by 10 points themselves here, 48-38. And, Boise State, they've got some players that came back from injury during the last part of the season, and they still lost a couple of games. I know the Mountain West was tough, and Central Michigan played in a MAC conference that wasn't that strong this year, but I do think that Central Michigan is probably the best or the second best team in the MAC conference, them and Northern Illinois. Even though they didn't play in the MAC championship, they've been blowing some teams out in the MAC, and I do think Central Michigan has a high-powered enough offense to win this game against Boise State. I still think that Boise State's going to put up a lot of points, as you can see, 38, but I think Central Michigan is going to end up winning this game. All right, next up, we got the Sun Bowl, Miami versus Washington State. Now, this one is interesting. Miami, they just hired Mario Cristobal. How is he going to do coaching? I think he's going to get them the win here, 38-31 over Washington State. Washington State fired their coach recently in the year. As far as I know, I don't think they've hired a new coach yet, but I could be wrong on that one. I think Mario Cristobal is going to be able to coach this one out pretty well. And, ever since they put in their younger quarterback and took out De'Aaron King, Miami's been playing a lot better. And I think he leads them to a bowl win here in the Sun Bowl. Okay, next up, we got the Las Vegas Bowl. We got Arizona State versus Wisconsin. And I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game because I was very high on Arizona State. At the start of the year, they were picking up some dubs. They looked like a very good team. But as of late, they just haven't been that efficient on offense. And I do think going against Pac-12 competition and going up against the Wisconsin defense that is really good is going to be a tougher transition for Arizona State because they've seemed to struggle a little bit on offense in the Pac-12. And here you have Wisconsin, who's a very good defense. I think Arizona State's offense, even though they have Jaden Daniels, which is a very good quarterback, I think they will struggle against Wisconsin's defense, and ultimately it's going to help Wisconsin get the dub. I have them winning 24-14 in a low-scoring game. All right, last one on this slide. We got the Mayo Bowl, Battle of the Carolinas, North Carolina versus South Carolina, and I think the Tar Heels are going to win this one 42-30. I could see this one really going either way because the Gamecocks have had a couple good wins under their belt as of late. But yeah, give me the Tar Heels. They've been playing a lot of good teams, a lot of the top teams in the ACC very close there towards the end of the season. They started to look like a little more like the team they were expected to be coming out preseason. I think they've been playing their best football of this season at the end of the season, which is good going into a bowl. And I do think that Sam Howell is going to be able to put up points on the South Carolina defense. And I think they're going to just be able to outscore the Gamecocks pretty much in this one. Okay, next set of games, my bad. We got the Alamo Bowl, and this one's very interesting. Both teams, Oklahoma and Oregon, both their head coaches have left them for other programs. As we know, Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley left for USC. Mario Cristobal left for Miami. Oklahoma did have a great hire, Clemson's old defensive coordinator, which used to be on Oklahoma's staff as a defensive coordinator as well. I think that was a very good hire. As of right now, Oregon does not have a head coach. It could be changed depending on when you're watching this video. But yeah, I do think Oklahoma is going to win this one 31-28. I think Caleb Williams is going to be able to play very well against this Oregon defense. And I know this Oregon defense is pretty good, but like I said earlier, Kayvon Thibodeau has already opted out of this bowl game and is ready to go to the draft right now. Doesn't want to risk getting hurt, which I completely understand, but it is a key part of that defense that is going to be missing. If you can't get to Caleb Williams, He's going to have time to scramble around in the pocket all day, and I think that's really going to hurt Oregon, and I think ultimately Oklahoma is going to be winning this game 31-28. I also think that, even though Oklahoma doesn't have the best defense, I think going up against Anthony Brown is going to be pretty beneficial for Oklahoma in this one. I think it's kind of like the matchup where they went up against Oklahoma State, and they were really able to stop Spencer Sanders for the most part. But I don't think Oregon's defense, especially without Kayvon Thibodeau, is nearly as good as Oklahoma State's defense. So I think Oklahoma is going to be able to put up enough points and edge this one out 31-28. Okay, we got the Cheez-It Bowl here. We got Clemson versus Iowa State. And this is one of them where I thought it was not as evenly matched of a game as the rest of them. I feel like Clemson is clearly the better team in this matchup. I'm not going to completely count out Iowa State because, anyone can win any of these bowl games. These are just my predictions. But I do think this is one of the more lopsided games, and I have Clemson winning 41-27. Clemson, we've been dogging on their offense all year long, but towards the end of the season, they've been putting up points. They put up 40 points on Wake Forest, and they put up 30 in the high 30s on a couple other teams late in the season as well, like South Carolina, I'm pretty sure. So Clemson's offense has been better as of late. I don't think Iowa State's defense is that good at all, really. I watched my team, West Virginia, live put up 35 points on them, and our offense isn't that great ourselves. So I do think Clemson is going to put up some points on Iowa State's defense. It's if Iowa State can match it against a very good Clemson defense, which I think they can to a certain degree. I think Iowa State's going to be able to put up some points, but I think Clemson is going to win this one by double digits, 41-27. Next up, we got the Music City Bowl. We got Tennessee versus Purdue, and this is another matchup where it's kind of offense versus defense. Tennessee has a great offense. Hendon Hooker is a very good quarterback, and he's been having a good season. And then on Purdue, they have a great defense. Their offense has been playing better, though, as of late. And their quarterback, at the beginning of the year, we thought that he was, not very good. He's going to be a game manager, kind of like an Anthony Brown for Oregon. But he started turning up recently, and, that ever since that Michigan State game where I think he had over 400 passing yards and 5 touchdown passes, they've been looking very good. So I think Tennessee might kind of hit the throttle on this one and turn this into a shootout. But I do, and I think if they do that, they kind of play to their game, and Tennessee ends up winning this one 41-37. Okay, moving on, we got the Pinstripe Bowl, Virginia Tech versus Maryland. A couple teams who started out hot and then kind of fizzled out towards the end. I do think that Virginia Tech will end up winning this game 27-24. I just feel like Maryland, as of late, they have just not won very many games late in the year. But they're both these teams are 6-6. But I do think Virginia Tech is the better team overall, especially defensively. And I think they will end up winning this game. Next up, we got the Fenway Bowl, SMU versus Virginia. And this game has shootout written all over it. I'm very excited for this Fenway Bowl because we got Tanner Mordecai versus Brennan Armstrong at quarterbacks. This is going to be fun. And a couple weeks ago, I'd probably pick SMU to win this game. But both of these teams have been struggling lately. Especially Virginia, they kind of fell off a cliff. Brennan Armstrong got hurt and didn't play against Notre Dame. And it kind of went downhill after they lost to BYU, in my opinion. And then Brennan Armstrong didn't play against Notre Dame. They got blown out. And Virginia lost to Virginia Tech the last week of the season, which I didn't expect, but SMU, Tanner Mordecai, I think both these offenses are going to be able to score on each other. I could see it going either way. I could see whoever gets the ball last winning the game. Ultimately, I decided to go with Virginia to win this one, 49-45. Next up, we got the Guaranteed Rate Bowl with my West Virginia Mountaineers facing the Minnesota Gophers. And I think this one is going to be more of a defensive game. I think West Virginia's offense, they get it going in spurts. If it's one of those games where they can get their offense going really well, I think the key is running the ball with Letty Brown, getting that run game going very well. I think they'll be able to put up more points if they can do that. Minnesota, they have a pretty good defense, and I think their offense is going to be just enough to maybe they force a couple turnovers. West Virginia's quarterback, Jarrett Dagey, is prone to doing that. So I do think Minnesota maybe forces a couple turnovers, gets the extra score in this one, and ends up winning a low-scoring defensive battle, 23-17. Next up, we got the Holiday Bowl. We got NC State versus UCLA, and I'm a little bit interested to see this one because I'm not too high on the Pac-12 this year other than Utah, but NC State, I think that they can win this game for sure. I think they're going to be able to get enough stops, even though UCLA's quarterback is very good and they have a good running game as well. I think they're going to be able to put up points, but NC State, Devin Leary, those wide receivers, I think the offense is just really good for NC State this year, and they end up winning a little bit of a shootout, 38-35 in my opinion. So that's what I have for this one. Moving on, we got the Liberty Bowl. We got a little bit of a SEC Big 12 matchup here, Mississippi State versus Texas Tech, and I like the Bulldogs here in this one, 31-21. I think Will Rogers is really going to be able to get it going against this Texas Tech defense that I don't think Texas Tech's defense is very good. But all credit to Texas Tech, man. I think they can be competitive in this game, and I do think they have a shot at winning it. But I really do think Mississippi State is going to win this game. I just want to give a quick shout out to Texas Tech this season because they weren't really expected to have that good of a year, and they've had a ton of injuries, especially on the offensive side of the ball this year, and they've still been balling out. So credit to Texas Tech on a pretty good year regarding all that happened, and I know they fired their coach this year as well. So a lot of things going on with them. They've still been very competitive, and they were competitive even in that last game of the year against Baylor. So that's something to look at. I do think Mississippi State, they can get a lot of offense going against Texas Tech, though, and they end up winning 31-21. Next up, we got the First Responders Bowl. We got Air Force versus Louisville, and this could be a very good game. And as you can see, I think it is going to be a very good game because I have Air Force winning by 1 point, 35-34. And this is going to be fun. It's a couple, we all know how Air Force plays. They're a service academy team. They're going to be scrambling the football and running the option. And then on the Louisville side, you have a Malik Cunningham quarterback who can scramble the ball and can also throw the ball, kind of like a Lamar Jackson-esque player. Not to that caliber, but still very good. So yeah, this is going to be a fun game. We're going to see a lot of quarterback running in this game, and a lot of points being scored is what I think is going to happen. So give me Air Force, though, to win this one, 35-34. Next up, we got the Birmingham Bowl. We got Houston versus Auburn, and this is I was back and forth on this one. I wasn't sure who to pick. But I do think the matchup favors Auburn in this one, even though Houston might have the better offense. I think just Auburn and their defense is going to be a problem for Houston getting it going in this one. And, we've seen Houston against Cincinnati's defense, and their offense didn't look as good. I think it's a similar story here. And if Bo Nix is playing for Auburn, I think they're going to be able to probably put up enough points. I also think that Tank Bigsby not going up against the SEC defense, going up against the Houston team, is probably going to be able to get a lot more done on the ground than he would against the Hogs that he's going up against in the SEC. So I do think Auburn is going to get enough offense and stop the Cougars enough to win this one 27-20. Okay, we got the Military Bowl next. Boston College versus East Carolina. And Boston College, I was very surprised because they were having a very good season. And I predicted, I thought Boston College was going to have a good season and be one of the top teams in the ACC because of their quarterback, Phil Jurkovec. And when he went down, I was like, oh, dang, Boston College, they might not have as good of a year as I thought. But even without him, they were winning games. They got off to a hot start. And it almost seemed like when Phil Jurkovec, I pronounce his last name wrong, I know that, but whenever he came back, they kind of took a step down almost, and they started losing more games. So that's a little bit concerning for me, and it almost makes me think, is he 100% already? Did they rush him back, or was the injury just enough to where it affected his game? So we'll see about that one, but I'm going to have East Carolina come on top here. I think they're going to be able to do enough to win this one 30-28 in a very close game. All right, we only got, I think, 3 slides of bowl games left here. We got the Quick Lane Bowl here, Nevada versus Western Michigan. That one has shootout, absolute shootout, written all over it. I watched Western Michigan play in many shootouts this year against Pitt, where they came out on top, against Northern Iowa, which they came out on top. Those were very, very good games where they came out on top of both of them. I've seen Nevada play in very good games against Fresno State, San Diego State, just close games, fun games to watch, and I really do think this one's going to be a shootout. I don't think there's going to be much defense in this game. Ultimately, I do have Nevada edging this one out 45-44 with Carson Strong leading the pack on this one. But this is another game where it's almost like whoever has the ball last might win this game. So early on, whenever these early bowl games are on, if you're looking for which bowl game to watch, I would definitely keep my eye out on this Quick Lane Bowl because it's going to be a fun one to watch with a lot of offense. Okay, next up we got the Camellia Bowl. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but we got Ball State versus Georgia State. In my opinion, Ball State is probably the worst MAC conference team that made a bowl. I'm not very high on their team this year. I think Georgia State is going to win this game. I'm pretty confident in saying that, but I have Georgia State winning 31-23. We got the Hawaii Bowl, and ironic enough, Hawaii is playing in the Hawaii Bowl, so a little bit of a home field advantage, you could say, for them, but they're going to be facing Memphis. I think this is a pretty cool matchup. A couple of teams that are kind of similar in their own conferences. Probably the two best group of 5 conferences being the Mountain West and the AAC. Both of these teams have some good wins under their belt. I'm pretty sure Hawaii beat Fresno State, but they also have some bad losses under their belt as well. Like Memphis, they have some good wins, but they also they have some bad losses. So it's kind of like which team is going to show up. I could see this being a lopsided bowl game and not being close. I could also see it being close because if one of those teams shows up and the other one doesn't, I really feel like it could be a lopsided finish either way. So this one's kind of up in the air for me, but ultimately I decided to go with Memphis. I think they've been playing the better competition all year. It's close though, and I decided to have them win 33-30 in this one. Next up, another one that I'm probably not going to pronounce right, Gasparilla Bowl. We got a couple of Florida teams, Florida versus Central Florida. So that would be fun. See who's going to come out on top in that in-state not really rivalry, but when you're facing someone else in your state, you kind of a rivalry, But yeah, I had Florida coming out on top on this one, 35-27. This will be Billy Napier's first game he's coaching with the Gators. Let's see if he can lead them to a bowl game. I think he can. As far as I know, Dylan Gabriel is still not playing. He's in the transfer portal as well, and he got injured earlier in the season, so don't expect to see him. But yeah, I think Florida can win this one, and maybe Billy Napier, he is an offensive mind, maybe gets together that talent, because Florida does have a ton of talent, and kind of gets his offense going a little bit. And that's kind of what I'm banking on whenever I'm predicting Florida to win. So I think Billy Napier, he can get this offense going. He might play Richardson and not play Jones that much at quarterback, but yeah, I think he could play them both and really get that offense going, and yeah, I have the Gators ending up winning by 8. All right, next up, we got the Cafe Frisco Bowl. We got San Diego State versus UTSA, and I'm very excited about this game. This is going to be a great game, and I was a little bit mad because I thought UTSA deserved to go up against a good Power 5 opponent. But I'm okay with it because San Diego State is another great Group of 5 team this year. But I would have loved to see UTSA go up against a top team, or not like all the way at the top, but a very good Power 5 team. I thought that would have been really fun to see how they do against them. But in this matchup, I really like UTSA to come out on top 30-29, especially after that performance San Diego State had against Utah State where they got blown out in the Mountain West Championship. I think that was a huge red flag for me. And I really predicted UTSA to lose in the Conference USA, the Conference USA Championship game against Western Michigan, but they actually pulled it out and controlled a lot of that game. It did end up going down to the wire, but UTSA controlled most of that game, and it didn't really go down to the wire, but Western Kentucky had a chance to tie it at the end with a Hail Mary. But UTSA, like I said, they controlled that game, and it really impressed me. I think they get the job done here and come out on top and complete a 12-1 or a 13-1 season. Okay, next up we got the Cure Bowl, Coastal Carolina versus Northern Illinois. So that's actually a pretty fun matchup. And Northern Illinois, I'd love to see them get a bowl game here, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that Coastal Carolina has the better coach, they have the better quarterback, and I think that alone is going to be enough. And I think I could see this turning into a shootout type game. And if it does turn into that type of game, I like Coastal Carolina to come out on top. It is a very nice story for Northern Illinois. I wanted to highlight their season a little bit because last year, I'm pretty sure they only had like 2 wins. And this year they came out and they won the MAC conference. So they won their conference, so that's a great story for them. I do think Coastal Carolina is going to be able to outmatch them and really outscore them if they can turn it into a little bit of a shootout type matchup. I like Coastal Carolina and Grayson McCall to get the job done. 35-30 is my score prediction for that one. Next up, Armed Forces Bowl, and we have an armed force here with Army going up against Missouri, and another game that has shootout written all over it. We've seen Army in shootouts, we've seen Missouri, not in as many shootouts, but they're going up against SEC defenses week in and week out. If they're going up against a defense like Army, they're definitely going to be able to put up points because this Missouri offense is very, very good. I do have Army coming out on top. I think they are the more experienced team, and I do think they're going to be able to put up points on this Missouri defense. So, yeah, give me Army to win this shootout 52-48. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Bowl. This is actually, I think it's called the Jimmy Kimmel Los Angeles Bowl. We got Oregon State versus Utah State. So West Coast teams going at it here. And actually, I have the Aggies. Give me the Mountain West Championship, or the Mountain West champions, to beat the Beavers 38-47. We just seen Utah State destroy San Diego State. I've seen Oregon State very good at sometimes, and I've seen them very bad at sometimes. Like, that loss against Colorado was a huge red flag for me. Like, Oregon State, I think they had me at one point as believers, and I had them ranked like 25th or 24th, but then they lost the week after, and ever since I've been like, I can't trust them. They're very inconsistent, but yeah, I think they'll be able to put up a little bit of a fight here, but I have the Aggies winning this one by 9. Okay, moving on, we got the New Mexico Bowl. I think we have 6 bowl games left to get into, but in the New Mexico Bowl, we got UTEP Miners versus Fresno State. And this should be, I'm pretty sure he's still playing in this bowl game. This should be Jake Hayner's last game with Fresno State, as he is in the transfer portal. So I have him picking up a win in his last game with the Bulldogs here. 38-31, and I think this Miners team is very good, but you know, I was excited for them to face UTSA, and outside of UTSA and probably Marshall and Western Kentucky, those 3 teams, I don't think Conference USA is very good this year. And I think the Miners kind of got exposed a little bit ever since then. And I really like the matchup for Fresno State. I think they are going to be able to win this one. And I could really see Fresno State winning by double digits. But I do think the Miners do have a great story because, you know, UTEP's not like the best program. But they had a good season this year. So I kind of gave them a little bit of props here and didn't make him lose by double digits in my score prediction, but I have Fresno winning 38-31. Jake Hayner has a great game in his last game as a Bulldog. Next up, we got the Lending Tree Bowl, Eastern Michigan versus Liberty, and this one should be fun. Another game that I think is going to be a very offensive game. Well, kind of, like, I think it's going to have some good offense and some good defense. This is probably a more balanced game. I think Malik Willis is going to have a lot of fun running and scrambling in this game, and I could honestly see a situation where Malik Willis throws a game-winning touchdown with like a minute or 2 left, and that would be awesome to see. But I do think Eastern Michigan's defense is pretty good. I've seen them play pretty good defense against Western Michigan, which is another team that's kind of like Liberty, to where they're a high-powered offense. And I could actually see this score being a little bit higher than what I have it. But I think we're going to see more defense than we expect, and I have Liberty winning this one 28-26. Now, this next one, I need to talk to you guys about this one. New Orleans Bowl. And I talked about a little bit how I was kind of mad UTSA didn't get to face a Power 5 opponent in a bowl game after the season they had. But they still got to play San Diego State, which is a good matchup. But why is Louisiana playing Marshall? Like, Marshall, you know, they had a good year. They're a decent team. But Louisiana has a 12-1 season going for them right now, and they're a conference champion. They should be playing a little bit better competition, in my opinion. A Power 5 opponent, or at least a better Group of 5 team. But that is my opinion on it. I do think Louisiana is going to win this game. They showed in their conference championship game, in the Sun Belt championship game against Appalachian State, that even without Billy Napier, because he left for Florida, they still got the job done. And I think they definitely get the job done here against Marshall, which I think is a good team this year, and will be able to put up some points. You know, they have a really good running back quarterback duo, and I like their coach a lot too. But yeah, give me Louisiana. They have a lot of seniors on this team. I think they got to go out with a bowl win here. and it's one of the bigger locks on the board for me. I think Louisiana is going to be able to win this one. I have it at 31-28. I could see them winning by more. But yeah, I definitely think Louisiana, whether it's close or a blowout, I think they win this game, and all their seniors end it on a very, very good note with a 12-1 season, or a 13-1 season, and a bowl win. Okay, we got the Boca Raton Bowl, and this is a fun one. Appalachian State versus Western Kentucky, and I think Western Kentucky is actually going to come out on top here. I think Bailey Zapp at quarterback is going to be able to put up a lot of points here, as you can see, 41, and I think Appalachian State, if their quarterback can kind of not be turnover prone and protect the ball, and they can get their running backs going because they have a couple good running backs, I think they're going to be able to put up a lot of points, but I don't think it's going to be enough points to keep up with Western Kentucky. So I actually have Western Kentucky winning 41-38. And I think we have 2 more bowl games left to get into, so let's get into our last 2. We got the Idaho Potato Bowl, going to be played on Boise State's field. I'm pretty sure it usually is. We got Kent State versus Wyoming, and this could be a little bit of a fun matchup. I just don't trust Wyoming too much. I think they are a pretty good team, but they're another team, kind of reminds me of like an Oregon State where they're just very inconsistent. But yeah, give me Kent State bouncing back after losing in the MAC championship, even though they lost in the MAC championship, which I think Northern Illinois is very good. Before that MAC championship game, they've been on a hotter streak in the MAC. So give me Kent State to win this one 28-24. And our last bowl game, we got the Independence Bowl. BYU has a contract with them to where they actually have to play in the Independence Bowl this year. And they're going to be facing UAB, which is another team I think I forgot of in Conference USA that I was talking earlier that I think is a good team. So I think UAB is actually another good team in the Conference USA. But yeah, I think BYU is going to be too much offensively. I think their offense is definitely going to be able to get it going against this UAB defense, and they have Tyler Alliger, and their quarterback is good too. I think they're going to be able to put up points. I could see them putting up more points than what I have predicted, but ultimately I have them winning 34-27. So yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Let me know your guys' thoughts on all of my bowl predictions and my score predictions. Let me know down in the comment section below, because I love talking college football with all my subs down in the comments. So make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are new. We got a lot of college football content coming, including our top 10 bets of the bowl season. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that video and a bunch of more content coming as well. Subscribe. It's been your boy Danny, and I'm out.